Yanda As. I'm a psychology graduate from Johannesburg, and I've recently been retrenched from a job I've had in retail. I'm now looking to get my career aligned to what I studied. Any pointers on how to get started?
Look a bit shiny, but anyway, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so the reason why I called you in now is just a quick one. I'm chatting to somebody that I guess managed to get my direct email, and besides getting my direct email, the question or the discussion that we're having around this person's career path is that they're a graduate and they have studied, I think psychology. I stand corrected, and they obviously, just like anyone who's graduated, is looking for employment now. This is something that we see all the time, and that's part of the reason for our existence, right? Maybe let me just hold that. Part of our existence is that we advise our students how to go about maybe their first, their second, their 10th, or whatever step, because we even deal with retirees, right? But anyway, far too often graduates usually don't have a sense of what their first step is going to be after they graduate. So the almost like proxy, or the just the general decision or general first step is going to be, okay, fine, I've graduated, I'm going to send my CV out there. And if you think about it, a CV that comes from graduate usually doesn't have much experience, and if it does have experience, it's got experience that's not even related to what it is that they've studied. So if you get somebody who's studying chemical engineering that's been working at a retail store, even when they send their CVs, trust me, the company that receives or that is going to give your application attention based on what you've studied, it's not really going to care about how many customers you served at Edgar's or at wherever it may be. So when I pose the question, let me take this. It's fine. Let me call you back in just a second. When I pose the question, so what's your plan? And usually, they say we've sent our CVs out to this portal, that portal, and I've sent my CVs to various companies. An even bigger challenge is that some of the students, don't even necessarily think of the type of company that they're sending their CVs to, which I can understand because there's elements of desperation here. There's not that many jobs out there. There's not that many opportunities. So they'll send their CV anyway, right? And of course, maybe with a qualification like psychology, you may believe that every business may have somebody who, would need that service. And I'm sure they do, but some cases, some companies do without or even outsource that kind of service. And what students need to do, especially at this time of the year where you've just either graduated or even starting your qualification, actively think of the companies that make usage of the skill that you're taking yourself to school for. You've got 3 years now, you've got 4 years, however long your qualification is, even if it's just a short course. Think very carefully, because once you come at the end of that and you've completed the qualification, you need to be able to at least have a contact with those companies and send your CVs directly, over and above applying and putting your application on social networks. That's the one side. Secondly, I repeat it every year, and I'm sure you've heard it on other platforms. I don't know, but think of whether you can afford to volunteer in a world where opportunities are very scarce. And this is not just it doesn't just pertain to South Africa. It pertains to the rest of the African continent and even in Europe. Think of whether you can afford to volunteer, and even more than just thinking about which company it is you're going to work for. In volunteering, you don't want to volunteer in an environment just to have work experience. You want to volunteer in an environment to accumulate experience that makes sense. Experience of which, when you volunteer for even 3 months, as little as 3 months, if it's relevant to what you've studied, and when you then start applying for positions out there that say they're looking for X amount of experience, even if it doesn't necessarily meet the level of experience that they're looking for, just the notion of standing up and contributing to society and not necessarily expecting any reward, that actually does turn certain businesses on. It turns certain leaders, decision makers on, because they believe that this person is really into what it is that they study. Now, I understand that it cannot happen with everyone. Like, I mean, bana ba bang ba senang tjhelete, we're all coming from different backgrounds and we suffer, and some of them actually can't even afford transport money. Cool. So if you can, try and volunteer, whether in psychology, whether you're in environmental sciences, whether you're in education, whether you're in, of course, when you start getting to your actual roles, you probably got a job before you even finish. But regardless of your qualification, and you can only volunteer to the right people or the right businesses if you've put thought behind where is it that I'm going to submit my CV, where am I going to actually go and approach these businesses, and I would say a third element of volunteering. Look for the smaller businesses. The volunteering doesn't just look good based on volunteering at a business this big and multinational. Those companies are sometimes actually very difficult to volunteer at because they've got such stringent processes and protocols. Look for the smaller businesses. Those businesses you're going to learn more because the guy that has just started their business, regardless of whether they're a good boss or not, that's one. Those guys are going to teach you more than the bigger guys. All right. I needed to share that, and let's get it out there.